If you were around during the early 2000s, you're probably familiar with the Final Destination movies. It's safe to say that this series has traumatized an entire generation of people, especially that one scene from the second movie. Most of you know exactly the one I'm talking about. And for those who somehow don't worry, we'll definitely get into it later in the video. The premise of all these movies is pretty simple. Something horrific where a bunch of people die is about to happen, but just before it actually happens, one of the people involved sees the events that are about to unfold in a vision, which causes them to unknowingly interfere with death's design, as it's referred to, by saving themselves and a few people who would have otherwise died, and that upsets death. So it goes like, alright, new plan, and one by one starts picking off the survivors in increasingly ridiculous, elaborate, and gruesome ways. You could say that for these characters, death is their final destination. I've seen someone describe it as death doing trick shots, and honestly, I cannot think of a better way to put it. I've watched the first two movies when I was young, after which I wasn't exactly thirsting for more, as the premise is pretty simple. Like, you can't redo it that many times before it becomes repetitive. So you can imagine my surprise when almost 2 decades later, I see a trailer for the Final Destination Bloodlines. So not only are they making a new one, apparently there's 5 already of these. Seems they decided enough time had passed and now it was time to traumatize the next generation like they did with us with this new sequel. The kills in these movies generally get more ridiculous as we go, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like, at the end of the day, over the top, violent, and just batshit insane death scenes are what these movies are all about. And judging from the new trailer, that has not changed. So while we wait for the big drop, how about we take a journey together through the 5 that we have currently? Let's start at the beginning, but I will say, right off the gate, viewer discretion is advised because these movies are graphic as hell. Expect lots of violence, nudity, some sex, a lot of which I can't show on YouTube, but we'll figure it out. We're introduced to a 17-year-old boy called Alex as his parents help him pack up for a senior trip he'll be taking to Paris with his high school class. The kids are accompanied by Baldy here, who keeps talking to them in French, mostly to flex, as I'm sure he knows damn well that none of them speaks a word of it, and Miss Valerie Luton. They do the thing where the name of the movie shows up in the movie. I want to point out that this movie is set just before a certain event that would have made this entire airport sequence look very different. Alex's bestie, Todd, tells him they should take a shit before takeoff.
Let's go take a shit.
Which is incredibly wise for a teenager their age. And fortunately for us, we get to see this amazing bathroom scene during which a song by John Denver, who
Trying to plane crash.
plays. The foreshadowing isn't exactly subtle in these movies. Then, the single most horrifying thing in the whole series happens. There's a baby on board with them. Then, as they are boarding, Todd quotes Jeffrey Epstein,
Younger the better.
and everyone gets seated, but Alex is getting bad vibes all around, like just trash vibes. And then the plane takes off and psych! It was all in Alex's head, idiot. Bro freaks the fuck out and goes on about the plane crashing. So Carter, the dickhead jock, starts fighting him, and they both get thrown off the plane. Followed by the 2 teachers, Carter's girlfriend Terry, and Todd, who followed to check on Alex. There's also Claire, who quietly gets off the plane when Alex started screaming. Very demure of her. Miss Luton tells Baldy to get back on the plane while she stays with these morons for the next flight, since he speaks French, which will be useful given that Paris is their destination. Their final destination, that is. Or is it? The few people who got off are now the only survivors, and they are taken for questioning. And the 2 feds assigned to them are called
I'm Agent Ween, this is Agent Shrek.
Ween and Shrek. They suspect Alex had something to do with it since he predicted the whole thing, but he says he just knew it because somebody once told him the world was gonna roll him. Todd tells them about his brother George, who died on the plane. Miss Luton feels guilty about Baldy, and Claire says she just got off because she believed Alex. The kids' families show up to pick them up, except for Claire, who just stands there like that one meme in the corner. They don't know I have no parents, which Alex notices, so his parents drive her home with them. Later, Alex is all depresso espresso watching the news about the crash and seems surprised when it says there are no survivors, which I don't know, dog.
Oh shit!
Seems kinda obvious to me. Skip to the memorial. Alex is treated like a freak by everyone, even by the teacher.
Don't talk to me, you scared the hell out of me.
The The only ones being decent to him are Todd and Claire. She even gives him a flower. And you can tell he's already imagining his entire future with her. Take note, ladies, if you want a man, just show him a little bit of affection when he's at his lowest, and he'll be all over you. Wait, no. Later, Todd is at his place taking a shit. My favorite thing to see. Thanks, movie, for showing us that a second time. Water starts leaking out of the toilet, which is bad, but it pales in comparison to Bro's shaving skills, or more like lack thereof. He literally cuts himself on the first stroke and gives up. Not to mention, Bro's cheeks are the smoothest thing about him, second only to his brain. He had no reason to be shaving. Unless it's his comfort pick like the black guy from Predator. He turns on the radio, but it's John Denver again, so he turns it off. Yeah, you're gonna be hearing this song a lot, as it is one of the signs that happen before a character is about to arrive. Arrive where? To their final destination. Meanwhile, Alex just finished joking it to a Playboy magazine while finding about Claire, his future wife, or so he hopes anyway. But post-nut clarity hates, and he throws the magazine away, which gets caught in the fan and shredded to pieces, like it's made of paper. Which it is, but like really shitty paper, apparently. A shred that says Todd lands on his knee. I wonder what could that possibly mean. Having put 2 and 2 together, Alex runs to Todd's place, only to find police, medics, Wiener, and Shrek have beat him there. And Claire is also there, hiding behind a tree, as one does. The next day, Alex visits Claire to see what she was doing at Todd's. She tells him she also felt the trash vibes on the plane, which is why she didn't hesitate when he started freaking out. She thinks something is still with him from that day, because she can still feel him, and that is why she was at Todd's place. Confused, Alex hypothesizes that Todd might be only the beginning.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Claire is generally weird as hell. I mean, look at this sculpture she made. Kinda looks like a coil head from Lethal Company.
It's you.
Alex is absolutely into it. So, they decide to hang with Todd for their first date. They break into the morgue and Claire lets her freak show.
Gives me a rush.
This place.
Doing something I'm not supposed to.
Todd is very excited to see them. Then the most metal character of this whole series shows up, the Mortician. He starts yapping about how our actions are all futile because no matter what we do, death is our final destination. This bit gets funnier the more I do. Bro says Alex and the others have cheated Death's design by getting off the plane, but it has a new one for all of them. He wishes them good luck and tells them to fuck off.
I'll see you soon.
This guy is the best. I love him. Alex starts geeking about the shred of paper that said Todd, saying whatever is haunting them is leaving them hints that they can pick up if they pay attention. But Claire says they might as well just take a toaster bath because there is a pattern to be found in literally everything if they're looking for one. You know, Homegirl was cooking, actually. This is a real psychological phenomenon called pareidolia, which is our human tendency to recognize patterns where there are actually none. They conclude that they have to cheat death again. Me personally, I'll just pass away, bruh. Living in paranoia like that sounds terrible. And let us assume they managed to cheat this design too. Who's to say it won't just make up a third one, and a fourth one, and a fifth one? That sounds worse than death. Like, just fucking kill me, bro. Anyway, Carter the dickhead and his bitch pull up in a muscle car, of course. That's American Bully 101. Billy and Miss Luton are also there randomly. How convenient that all 6 survivors just so happen to gather in one spot. Carter and Alex get into a rematch, but Terry has had enough of their bullshit.
If you want to waste your life beating the shit out of Alex, then you can just drop fucking dead.
Traumatized yet again, Alex goes and Rotmaxes at home, but he then sees a theory about the cause of the explosion on the news, which he uses to figure out that they are dying in the same order they would have died in the accident, which means
Miss Luton's next.
Miss Luton has already packed her shit to move out of town to escape all the trauma. She sees Alex lurking outside her window, so she calls Agent Shrek. She calls Agent Shrek. I can't say it with a straight face, man.
This is Valerie Luton. I need Agent Shrek.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Shrek and Wiener arrive to find Alex fucking with Miss Luton's car, so they take him while she watches from her window like a witch. Look, I guess she's traumatized and all, but she's his teacher. She's supposed to be the adult here. These little shits have already moved on and are even investigating the whole thing on their own, while she, a grown-ass woman, is hiding in her home, pissing and shitting her pants. I get that everyone responds to trauma differently and that kids are more flexible, but she just called the feds on her student who just lost all of his friends. Like, what if he was suicidal and was seeking her for help? Deserves her license revoked for this. But that won't be necessary anyway. She plays her mom's favorite vinyl to help her cool off, and you're never gonna guess what song that is. You know what that means? You're probably wondering how I got here. Hi, Agent Mike Cox here from Death Inc., which is a legitimate and licensed company. Today, I would like to share with you an inspiring story from one of our clients, Miss Valerie Luton, about how she went from this to this with our 10-step program. Put a towel on the knife rack. I know that might seem strange to some, but it's very important. As you can see here, Miss Val pours some boiling water in the mug, but then she changes her mind. If you're following along at home, you can just pour the water in the sink. So long as the mug is properly heated, you're good to go. But don't drink it. You don't want to burn your tongue. She decides to fix herself some ice-cold vodka instead, as it's late at night and tea would be keeping her up. Such a responsible adult she is. Remember to use the same mug before it cools off, as the switch from hot to cold is crucial for the next step. If you've done the previous step correctly, the mug should crack and start leaking profusely. Don't worry about the mess, it's all part of the program. Make your way to the nearest computer, but don't dawdle, or the vodka might run out. As you see here, Miss Val reaches behind the computer and gets some of the vodka on the monitor in the process. Make sure you really get it in there so the monitor can do its part. And don't worry about the device. Our insurance company covers everything using the program. Now, 70% of our clients fail at step 6 due to the intense urge to quickly unplug the computer when it starts sparking. You are supposed to resist and just wait until it blows up in your face. Another contributing factor to the high failure rate of this step is the glass trajectory, which cannot be predicted or controlled, unfortunately. But with a bit of luck, a shard will hit something important, like in Miss Val's case. Now, step 7 is really simple. You just need to pull out whatever object has been lodged into you so that the wound can start squirting blood everywhere. Are you still following? Excellent job! Make your way to the kitchen, but be careful not to slip on your own life juice. The malfunctioning monitor shows a nice vodka trail you made earlier. By now, you just need to stand and calmly watch the burning trail approach you and brace for the explosion. Ideally, the explosion has knocked you to the ground like Miss Val, but if not, just lay down and catch your breath. Now would be a good time to tend to the gushing hole in your neck. You're gonna need the towel you put on the knife rack all the way back in step 1 to apply pressure on your neck. Maintain a lying position and calmly reach for the towel. Oh dear, you tipped the knives over and one stabbed you? No worries. Oh, wait. That, they missed? No, they didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. Some clients get confused and pull it out like the glass shard in step 7, but you need to live this one in. Once sufficiently stabbed, step 10 is the easiest part. You just sit tight and wait, as one of our associates will be there to assist you shortly. In Miss Val's case, there was a minor setback as our associate was taken in by the feds, but he still manages to reach her within an acceptable time frame. I assure you, our response times are normally second to none, but the FBI thing was just a misunderstanding. Our company operates well within the law, which is a guarantee by the head of our legal division himself, Mr. Goodman. Our associate gets in through Miss Val's front door that she didn't lock. It is advised to leave an easy way of access for our associate, but it's okay if you forgot. We always find a way. Normally, our associate has to finish the job in a way that looks like an accident, but in Miss Val's case, it was actually an accident. No need to worry. Such contingencies happen all the time, and our operatives are trained to adjust accordingly. With the job well done, our associate calmly exits the house. And another blazing success for our 10-step program. And another satisfied customer. Those following along at home, it might take a few tries to get it right all the way, but don't let that bring you down. Failure is the great teacher, as they say. I am Mr. Cox from the legitimate company Death Inc. Thank you for tuning in. Anyway, Claire goes to meet with Billy and Carter, the remaining 2 other than herself and Alex. She asks Carter to take them to see Alex because she thinks he knows who's next. She eventually finds him moping on the beach like a little bitch where the plane debris washed up. So she trauma dumps on him about her dad's death and how her mom subsequently abandoned her, all to say,
Then fuck death.
and to man the fuck up. So Alex,
I'm thinking I'm back.
the 4 hooligans drive back and Carter finally believes Alex's death theory, but he doesn't exactly like it and drives like an asshole to go out on his own terms.
I control my life, I control my death.
But they don't crash because Death refuses to take him without playing with him a little bit. I'm starting to think Death is just a cat with godlike powers. God, that would be terrifying.
What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
Alex sees a reflection that looks like a train just before Carter finally stops the car. on the train tracks. And conveniently, a train is coming. Isn't it kind of unfair that the signs show to the person who gets the visions, not the person they're about? Like, what if the vision haver is too far to warn them? Or just really stupid and misses them all? They all get out, but Carter stays a little longer to edge death. But when he tries to drive off, the car doesn't start. Because of course it fucking doesn't, this is a horror movie. The doors also get locked on their own and the seatbelt jammed, but Alex steps in and manages to yank Carter out the window a literal millisecond before the train tears its smithereens. The crazy son of a bitch done did it. He managed to cheat death. Or did he? They assume that blowing Death's attempt on Carter stops the whole design, but as they're about to find out, Death is still going. It just skipped Carter for now. Carter is directly responsible for this one, seeing how he brought them there in the first place, and a piece of his car is literally what killed Billy. That being said, Billy wasn't doing himself any favors either by standing this close to a speeding train that just obliterated the car while being chased by Death itself. Not to victim blame or anything, I'm just saying he wasn't being exactly safe about it. Alex doesn't give a fuck that Billy just got obliterated, I guess he's used to it by this point. Instead, he starts geeking out about how his visions give him the power to intervene and cheat the design like he just did. Claire, being the voice of reason, like always, tells Alex they need to get him to her dad's remote cabin before the cops arrive.
You can hide out there and get your head together.
That's not very considerate to say in front of Billy, Claire. At the cabin, Alex makes the place as safe as humanly possible because he's next. The idea being that Death won't move on to her until it gets him, so by protecting himself, he's also protecting her. At Claire's house, the feds are still camping outside looking in with binoculars. Oh, so when I do it, I get arrested for stalking. But when the government does it, it's a matter of security? How is that fair? She caves in and gives them Alex's location so they can protect him. Which is dumb, but honestly that one's on Alex for betting his life on a woman keeping quiet. Alex realizes he actually fucked up and his boo is next, not him. So he throws caution to the wind and rushes out, narrowly dodging the cops, and he kayaks over to her place. Back at Claire's, lightning strikes a power cable and the wire gets snatched on the spinny laundry thing. Seeing all this tomfoolery unfold, Claire makes her way out and almost dies a bunch of times, but I guess Death will only take her if she knows it's her turn. Kinda like how gravity only works in cartoons after you look down. The laundry thingy breaks up the pool, causing a flash flood, which is bad news given there is a possessed live wire flailing around. This is bullshit, by the way. Power lines don't thrash around like that for that long after they get snapped. This entire sequence is honestly bullshit and I fucking hate it, so just bear with me. Claire decides she no longer wants to be part of this tomfoolery and climbs up the wall back to her room. Meanwhile, Alex is having a bunch of close calls himself. The dumbest of which is when a lightning strikes a tree and it falls his way, so he runs away from it instead of just scooting to the side. Poor old Groot here pins him face down in a puddle and he almost drowns. At this point, Death is not hunting them, it's racing against their own stupidity. He finally reaches Claire, who just went through a bunch of bullshit herself that I cannot be bothered to explain. All that you need to know is that she's now stuck in a car in front of the garage with a fire under it, and the possessed wire is stuck on the hood, still thrashing. Alex decides to sacrifice himself, so Death skips her and takes him instead. Not sure how that will work, but I don't care at this point. Claire gets out of the car, and just as he grabs the wire, the car explodes, throwing Alex away from the wire that suddenly remembers how physics works and stops role-playing a fireman hose. Alex survives all this somehow. The explosion alone would have liquefied all of his organs. Not to mention that Death is supposedly after them and wouldn't let this fly. Like, you're telling me this happens to you with Death on your tail and you don't die? But even worse yet, the curse still gets broken despite no one dying. Seems even Death was sick of this shit at this point and just left. 6 months later, Carter, Alex, and Claire finally make it to Paris. Wait, hold the fuck up. Why is he not in jail? The cops had evidence that he murdered Valerie, you know, the teacher. That's the main reason he was avoiding them in the first place.
Look, I can't go home because after Mrs. Luton, they're gonna be looking for me.
Did they just forgive him for saving Claire? That's not how that works. At any rate, Alex himself is confused why he survived.
But in my case, no one intervened. I was thrown from that power line by the explosion.
And proposes that maybe they ain't out of the woods yet. As if on cue, some fucker starts singing in the background, and of course it's John fucking Denver, but in French, so I guess Jean Denver. Alex recognizes it and freaks out, setting in motion a bunch of bullshit that culminates as a billboard almost crushes him. It's not for Carter pushing him out of the way, which means Alex got skipped and the playlist starts over.
So who's next?
This is also bullshit because Claire actually saved Alex seconds before Carter did by calling out to him, which made him dodge this bus that was gonna turn him to spare organs. Whatever, let's just move on. We've got 4 more to go. Overall, though, it's not a bad movie. I would give it a 7 out of 10. But they did have a character called Shrek, so 8 out of 10. Also, they do this
Oh shit. Here we go again.
type ending in all the movies, so that's something to look forward to.